The twin sons of Haven's Rest painted the sky orange and pink. It was a beautiful evening on the small human colony planet. In a simple garden, 8-year-old Emma laughed as she chased colorful butterflies. Her toy spaceship dangled from her hand, making whooshing sounds as she ran. "Emma, not too far," her father Marcus called from the fence. He was a farmer, his hands dirty from working in the fields all day. Life here was simple, peaceful, safe, or so they thought. The ground suddenly shook. Emma stopped running. She looked up at the sky. 3 massive ships descended to the clouds, black and sharp like daggers. The Zarlan Empire Patrol had arrived. Marcus's heart dropped. He quickly ran to Emma and pulled her close. Other colonists emerged from their homes, faces filled with worry. Everyone knew what this visit meant. The ships landed with a thunderous boom. Metal ramps dropped down, and out marched the Zarlan soldiers. They were tall, lizard-like creatures covered in dark scales and battle armor. Their yellow eyes gleamed with cruelty. Commander ZYX led the group. He was the biggest, with scars across his face and a plasma rifle in his clawed hands. He looked around the colony with disgust. "Humans," he hissed, his forked tongue flicking. "Time to pay your protection tax." Marcus stepped forward, trembling. "Please, Commander, the harvest was bad this season. We have no money. Give us 1 more month." "Silence!" ZYX roared. His soldiers laughed, a horrible sound like metal scraping metal. Emma tugged on her father's shirt. She didn't understand why these aliens were so mean. Her mother had taught her that all species were friends in the galaxy. So, with innocent eyes, Emma stepped forward. "Mr. Alien," she said softly, holding up her toy spaceship. "You can have this. It's my favorite toy. Maybe you can buy food with it." The garden went silent. ZYX looked down at the little girl. For a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Then it died. He snatched the toy from Emma's hand and examined it. "Pathetic," he sneered. His clawed hand crushed the toy into pieces. Plastic and metal fell to the ground. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You humans are weak," ZYX said. "You're nothing but pets. Slaves. You deserve no mercy." He raised his plasma rifle. "No. Please." Marcus screamed, lunging forward. The shot echoed across the colony. Emma fell. Time seemed to stop. Marcus dropped to his knees, cradling his daughter's lifeless body. His scream tore through the evening air, a sound of pure agony. Colonists stood frozen in horror. Some wept. Others stared in disbelief. ZYX holstered his weapon. "Let this be a lesson. Next month, double the tax." The Zarlan soldiers marched back to their ships, laughing and joking as if nothing had happened. Within minutes, they were gone, disappearing into the darkening sky. But in the crowd, Old Man Chin moved quickly. He was a colony elder, ancient and wise. His wrinkled hands shook as he entered the community hall and approached a dusty device in the corner. It had been there for 200 years, untouched, almost forgotten. Chin wiped away the dust. The device looked strange, covered in symbols that glowed faintly blue. His fingers trembled as he pressed the activation sequence. The device hummed to life. "What are you doing?" someone whispered. Chen's eyes were wet with tears, but his voice was steady. "They broke the treaty. They killed a child." "What treaty?" "The one we made with ourselves." Chun pressed the final button. "They don't know who we really are, what we were, what we could become again." The device projected a holographic screen. Lines of code scrolled rapidly. A message was being transmitted, sent to coordinates deep in space, to a place marked only as Sector 0. A simple message, 3 words. Protocol Phoenix activated. Young colonists stared at the screen, confused. But the older ones, those who remembered the stories, the legends whispered by their grandparents, they understood, and they were afraid. Not afraid of the Zarlan Empire, afraid of what humanity was about to unleash. Because somewhere in the darkness of space, something ancient heard the call, something that had been sleeping for 2 centuries, something that humanity had hidden away, hoping never to use again. The war machine was waking up, and the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The planet Draconis Prime was the heart of the Zarlan Empire. Massive towers of black metal reached into the red sky. Warships patrolled above, a constant reminder of the Empire's military might. This was a civilization built on conquest and fear. Inside the Grand Council Hall, Commander ZYX stood at attention. His chest was puffed with pride. Around him sat the leaders of a dozen alien species, all part of the Zarlan-controlled territories. At the center throne sat High General Croft, the supreme ruler. He was enormous, twice the size of normal Zarlans, with golden armor and cold, calculating eyes. "Report, Commander." Croft's voice rumbled like thunder. ZYX smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "The human colony haven's rest has been disciplined, my lord. They will pay double tax next cycle." "Any resistance?" asked a council member, an insect-like alien called Magistrate Quirk. "None." ZYX laughed. "Humans are weak. No military, no weapons. One of them even offered me a toy as payment. A child's toy. Can you imagine?" The council chamber filled with laughter. Several aliens slapped their appendages on tables in amusement. "And the child?" Croft asked casually, as if discussing the weather. "Eliminated." ZYX said without emotion, to teach them respect. More laughter. To these beings, human life meant nothing. Humans were just another conquered species, useful for labor and taxes, nothing more. But in the back of the chamber, one figure did not laugh. Varix was old, perhaps the oldest being in the room. He belonged to the Etherian race, bird-like creatures known for their wisdom and long memories. His feathers were white with age, and his eyes held centuries of knowledge. He slowly stood up, his joints creaking. "You fool!" Varix's voice cut to the laughter like a blade. The chamber went silent. ZYX turned, anger flashing his eyes. "What did you say, old bird?" Varix walked forward slowly, leaning on a staff. "You killed a human child. Do you have any idea what you've done?" Croft leaned forward on his throne. "Explain yourself, Varix." "Quickly." The old Etherian took a deep breath. "Humans did not appear in this galaxy 200 years ago. That's what they want you to believe. But I have studied the ancient archives, the forbidden records, the data that predates most of our civilizations." "Get to the point," Croft growled. "Humans didn't arrive. They returned." Varix's voice grew stronger. "Over 1,000 years ago, there was a war, the Great Silence War. Entire star systems vanished. Planets were erased from existence. The attackers were unknown, unstoppable. They called themselves the Silent Guardians." Magistrate Quirk clicked his mandibles nervously. "I've heard whispers of this legend." "It's not a legend." Varix slammed the staff on the floor. "The Silent Guardians won that war. They destroyed 3 empires. Then, suddenly, they vanished. Gone. For 800 years, nothing. Then, 200 years ago, humans appeared. Simple farmers. Peaceful traders. Asking for permission to settle empty worlds. "So," ZYX said mockingly, "what's your point, O1? Varix's eyes locked onto him. "My point is this. What kind of warrior race gives up conquest? What kind of advanced civilization pretends to be primitive? Why would the most powerful military force in galactic history suddenly choose to become farmers?" The room grew uncomfortable. Several council members shifted in their seats. "You're saying humans are the Silent Guardians?" Crotha's voice was skeptical but curious. "I'm saying the math doesn't add up," Varix replied. "Humans have no homeworld that we can verify. They appeared on 50 colony worlds simultaneously. They possess no weapons, yet their civilian ships use technology we can't fully understand. They're peaceful, yes, but maybe not because they're weak." "Ridiculous!" ZYX shouted. "I've seen humans. They're soft. They cry over dead children. They have no warrior spirit." "That's what worries me," Varix said quietly. "Because in all my years studying war, I've learned one truth. The most dangerous beings in the universe are not those who love war. It's those who hate it. Because when peaceful beings finally fight, they don't fight for glory or honor. They fight to end the threat. Permanently." Croft considered this for a moment. Then he laughed. A deep, booming laugh that shook the chamber. Varix, you're old and paranoid. Humans are nothing. I've decided we will invade all human colonies. 3 days from now, we'll capture them, use them as slave labor for the new mining operations. Commander ZYX will lead the assault. ZYX bowed. It will be my honor, my lord. Varix shook his head sadly. You're making a terrible mistake. Your objection is noted, Croft said dismissively. Now sit down, old bird. Your legends bore me. As Varix returned to his seat, a young military officer burst into the chamber, his scales pale with fear. Hi, General. Urgent report. Croft's eyes narrowed. Speak. Sir, our deep space sensors have detected massive energy readings from Sector 0. The room went very quiet. Sector 0? Croft frowned. There's nothing there. It's empty space. That's what our charts say, sir. But the energy signature is enormous. Bigger than anything we've ever recorded. It's like entire planets are appearing out of nowhere. Magistrate Quirk's voice trembled. Sector 0 is near human territory. Croft waved his hand dismissively. Probably a solar flare or a sensor malfunction. Send a scout ship to investigate. Nothing more. Yes, my lord. The officer bowed and left quickly. Varix remained in his seat, his old heart heavy with dread. He had tried to warn them. Now, all he could do was watch. And pray he was wrong. But deep down, in the part of him that had studied history and war for 300 years, he knew the truth. The galaxy was about to witness something it had forgotten. Humanity was about to remember what it truly was. And when humans remembered, the universe would tremble. Sector 0 floated in the emptiness of deep space, far from any star system. For 200 years, this region had been marked on all galactic maps as void space, nothing but darkness and silence. Ships avoided it. There was no reason to go there. But that was a lie. The truth was about to reveal itself. In the black emptiness, something stirred. Tiny lights began to flicker, like stars being born. One light, then 10, then hundreds, then thousands. The darkness itself seemed to peel away, like a curtain being pulled back. What emerged made no sense. Massive structures materialized from nothing. Space stations the size of moons appeared, their surfaces covered in sleek metal and glowing blue lines. Warships uncloaked, each one larger than most species' capital cities. Defensive platforms activated, bristling with weapons that hummed with barely contained power. This wasn't a fleet. This was an arsenal, a war machine, a force designed to end civilizations. And at the center of it all, the largest structure slowly came online. It was called the Bastion, a command station so vast that small ships looked like insects flying around it. Ancient systems awakened after centuries of sleep. Lights flickered through endless corridors. Power cores that had been dormant roared back to life. In the main command center, a single hologram formed. She appeared as a woman, dressed in military uniform, her expression calm but her eyes ancient and knowing. This was Aegis, the artificial general intelligence system. She was humanity's greatest creation, the mind that controlled the entire war machine. System status? Aegis's voice echoed through the empty chamber. Screens lit up around her, displaying data. All Guardian-class warships online. Total count, 10,000. Sentinel defense platforms operational. Total count, 50,000. Arsenal stations fully powered. Weapon systems ready. Personnel status, 0. That last one was important. These ships needed no crews. They were automated, controlled by Aegis and her network of sub-AI systems. Humanity had built the perfect war machine, one that could fight without risking a single human life. Aegis reviewed the data that had activated her. The message from Haven's Rest. The death of Emma. Protocol Phoenix. Her systems processed the information in microseconds, but even an AI could understand the weight of what had happened. Protocol Phoenix confirmed. She announced in the empty room. Child protection clause violated. Perpetrator, Zarlan Empire. Threat level, civilization-wide. Aegis accessed her memory banks, reviewing the treaty that humanity had made with itself 200 years ago. She saw the recordings of that historic day. Humanity had just finished their last war. They had won, as they always did, but the cost had been terrible. Not in human lives. Their technology made war almost bloodless for them. No, the cost was in what they had become. Humanity had looked at themselves and seen monsters, being so good at destruction that other species surrendered at the mere mention of their name. They had the power to erase entire civilizations, and they had used it. So they made a choice. We will hide. The Human Council had voted. We will pretend to be weak. We will become farmers, explorers, traders. We will give the galaxy peace. But the council leader had said, we will never be defenseless. If anyone threatens our children, if anyone commits genocide against us, if anyone tries to enslave humanity, the Guardians will wake, and we will remember how to fight. The vote had been unanimous. Aegis had been programmed with one absolute rule: protect humanity, especially the children. Children represented innocence, the future, the reason why humanity chose peace in the first place. And now a child was dead. Authorization confirmed. Aegis said, response protocol, extinction level countermeasure authorized. She paused. Even with her cold logic, Aegis had been given one human trait: the ability to choose mercy. She accessed communication channels. Broadcasting to all human colonies, she announced. Across 50 worlds, in every human settlement, screens flickered to life. Farmers stopped working. Traders paused in negotiations. Families looked up from their dinner tables. Aegis's hologram appeared before them all. Attention, all human citizens. This is Aegis, Guardian Command. Protocol Phoenix has been activated due to hostile action against Colony Haven's Rest. One child has been killed by Zarlan military forces. Gasps echoed across worlds. Some people cried. Others felt old memories stirring. Stories their grandparents had told them. Effective immediately, Aegis continued. All civilians are ordered to evacuate to designated safe zones. This is not a drill. The Zarlan Empire has been designated a hostile civilization. Guardian fleet will engage in 72 hours. She paused, her expression softening slightly. To those who remember what we were, yes, we are waking up. To those who don't, you're about to learn who humanity really is. To our children, don't be afraid. The monsters in the dark work for us. The broadcast ended. On Earth, in the hidden archives beneath old military installations, elderly men and women began to weep. They were the last generation who remembered, the last soldiers of the old wars. They had hoped to die before the Guardians ever woke again. God forgive us, one old admiral whispered, looking at the stars. They've woken the beast. Back in Sector 0, Aegis began tactical calculations, scanning Zarlan Empire military strength. Total warships, 50,000. Infantry, 2 billion. Occupied territories, 47 star systems. She ran combat simulations. Every scenario ended the same way. Estimated time to complete military victory, 96 hours. Estimated Zarlan casualties, 99.7% of military forces. Estimated human casualties, 0. The numbers were cold, efficient, terrifying. Aegis opened a communication channel to her subcommanders. AI systems controlling individual fleet sections. Alpha Fleet, prepare for surgical strikes on military targets. Beta Fleet, establish blockade around Zarlan space. Gamma Fleet, stand by for capital assault. Delta Fleet, protect human territories. Understood, Aegis. For synthetic voices replied in unison. One of Aegis's subroutines flagged something in her programming, the Mercy Protocol. Even now, even after what happened to Emma, humanity had programmed their war machine to offer one chance. Aegis composed a message. She aimed it at Draconis Prime, the Zarlan homeworld. To the Zarlan Empire, you have violated the Treaty of Non-Aggression by murdering a human child. Under Protocol Phoenix, you are hereby given one opportunity to surrender. Deliver Commander ZYX for trial. Withdraw all forces from human space. Pay reparations. You have 72 hours. If you refuse, we will come for you. This is your only warning. The Guardians are awake. She sent the message. Then Aegis did something unexpected for an AI. She created a small hologram of Emma, based on colony records. The little girl smiled, holding her toy spaceship. I'm sorry we failed you, Aegis whispered to the image. We promise to keep you safe. We will make this right. The hologram faded. Around her, 10,000 warships began to move, gliding through space like sharks circling prey, their weapons charged, their shields activated, their targeting systems locked onto Zarlan space. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson written in fire and steel. Humanity had chosen peace. But peace was always a choice, not a weakness. And when you force peaceful people to remember how to fight, you don't face warriors seeking glory. You face exterminators seeking justice. The countdown had begun. 72 hours until Judgment Day. Under Coney's prime, High General Croft read Aegis's message and laughed so hard his chest hurt. Surrender? He roared, throwing the datapad across the room. They want U.S. to surrender? These pathetic farmers. His council chamber was filled with military commanders, all of them looking at the threat with amusement. Only Varix, the old Etherian, sat quietly in the corner, his face grave. My lord, Commander Zywyak said confidently, this is clearly a bluff. Humans have no military. Our scouts confirmed it years ago. Exactly, Croth agreed. They're trying to scare us with fake messages and censor tricks. Well, it won't work. He turned to his fleet commander, Admiral Vrex. Take Battle Group 7. 500 warships. Go to the Sector 0 and destroy whatever tricks the humans have set up there. Admiral Vrex was a veteran warrior, scarred from 100 battles. He bowed. It will be done, my lord. We'll crush this illusion and then continue to Haven's Rest. I'll bring you human prisoners by tomorrow. Good, Cross smiled. Show the galaxy that the Zarlan Empire fears nothing. Varric stood up slowly. Please, High General. Wait. Study the energy readings more carefully. Something is wrong. Silence. Crotha's roar echoed. I'm tired of your cowardice. Old bird, one more word, and I'll have you removed from this council. Varric sat down, his heart heavy. He had tried. Now, all he could do was watch history repeat itself. Within hours, Battle Group 7 departed. 500 massive warships, each carrying thousands of soldiers and enough firepower to destroy planets. They were the pride of the Zarlan military. Admiral Vrex stood on his command ship's bridge, confident and ready. His crew worked efficiently around him, checking weapons and shields. Admiral, his sensor officer called out, we're approaching Sector 0. I'm detecting... Wait, sir, the energy signatures are real. There's something massive out there. On screen, Vrex ordered. The view screen flickered to life, and every Zarlan on the bridge froze. Sector 0 wasn't empty anymore. Thousands of structures floated in space. Stations, defense platforms, and ships. So many ships. They were sleek, angular, covered in armor that seemed to absorb light. Blue energy lines pulsed across their hulls, like veins carrying power. But what shocked Vrex most was that only one ship moved toward them. A single human vessel, smaller than most of his warships, drifted calmly into position. One ship? Vrex's confusion turned to anger. They send one ship against 500? His communication officer spoke up. Sir, receiving transmission from a human vessel. Put it through. A voice filled the bridge. It was feminine, calm, completely emotionless. Aegis, Zarlan Battle Group 7. You have entered Guardian space without authorization. You have 60 seconds to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. The bridge erupted in laughter. They're insane, one officer shouted. One ship giving U.S. an ultimatum? Another laughed. Vrex smiled cruelly. Humans, your arrogance ends now. All ships, target that vessel. Fire everything. 1,000 missiles launched from the Zarlan fleet. Plasma torpedoes streaked through space like comets. Energy beams capable of melting mountains converged on a single human ship. The human vessel didn't move. Instead, a blue energy field materialized around it. The missiles hit the barrier and simply vanished, not exploded, not deflected. They disappeared as if they had never existed. The energy beam struck the shield and dispersed harmlessly into space. The laughter on Vrex's bridge died instantly. What was that? Vrex whispered. Aegis's voice returned, still calm. You were warned. Engaging defensive protocol. From a human ship, small objects launched. They looked like tiny drones, no bigger than ground vehicles. Hundreds of them, spreading out like a swarm. Those are their weapons? Vrex's confidence returned. Our point defense systems will handle them easily. All ships, activate anti-fighter protocols. What happened next would be replayed across every screen in the galaxy within hours. The drones moved, but they didn't move like normal ships. They accelerated impossibly fast, dodging every shot the Zarlans fired. Their speed defied physics. One moment they were kilometers away, the next they were inside the Zarlan formation. Each drone targeted a warship, and each drone fired a single beam of white light. The first Zarlan warship, a massive dreadnought, was hit in the center. The beam didn't explode the ship. Instead, the warship simply came apart. Atoms separated. Molecular bonds dissolved. Within 3 seconds, a vessel that had taken years to build became dust and gas floating in space. No! Vrex screamed. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Fight back. But there was no fighting back. The drones moved through the Zarlan fleet like death itself. Ships exploded. Others fell apart. Some simply vanished. The Zarlans fired desperately, but hitting the drones was impossible. They moved like ghosts, like predictions of where space would be rather than where it was. Vrex watched in horror as his fleet died around him. 500 ships. Thousands of soldiers. Decades of military might. Gone in 3 minutes. His own ship shook as a drone approached. Vrex fell to his knees, all his pride shattered. Please, he begged the empty screen. Mercy, we surrender. Please. Aegis's voice responded, and for the first time, there was something in her tone. Not anger, not hate, just cold, absolute certainty. You showed no mercy to Emma. You laughed when she died. Justice does not negotiate. The beam of white light filled Vrex's vision. Then nothing. Across the galaxy, every major civilization had been watching. Their sensors had recorded everything. The massacre had taken exactly 3 minutes and 47 seconds. 500 Zarlan warships destroyed. Not a single human ship damaged. On a dozen worlds, leaders watched the recordings in stunned silence. The Corellian hive mind broadcast a single message. Threat level, extinction. The Federation of Free Traders issued an emergency decree. All ships avoid human space. Do not engage. Do not provoke. The Azure Collective, a peaceful species of aquatic beings, sent a message to humanity. We remember the legends. We remember the Silent Guardians. Please, we beg you, show the mercy you showed us 1,000 years ago. On Draconis Prime, High General Croft watched the recording for the 5th time. His hands trembled. His confidence had evaporated like morning dew. They used one ship, he whispered. One ship destroyed 500 of ours. They have thousands of ships out there. Thousands. Veritz approached the throne slowly. I tried to warn you, High General. Croft looked at the old Etherian with desperate eyes. What do we do? How do we fight this? Verix's answer was simple and terrible. We don't. In his private chamber, Commander ZYX watched the recordings alone. The warrior who had laughed when he killed Emma now understood what he had done. He had awakened something that should have stayed asleep. He had killed a human child. And humanity had responded not with anger, but with mathematics. Cold, efficient, unstoppable mathematics. The countdown continued. 48 hours until the deadline expired. And everyone in the galaxy knew. If the Zarlan Empire didn't surrender, what happened to Battle Group 7 would look like mercy compared to what was coming next. High General Croft sat on his throne, his scaled hands gripping the armrests so hard they cracked. Around him, his council argued desperately. Some wanted to surrender. Others wanted to fight, but all of them were afraid. We cannot surrender. General Thurax shouted, slamming his fist on the table. The Zarlan Empire has never bowed anyone. We are warriors. Warriors who just lost 500 ships in 3 minutes. Magistrate Quirk responded, his insect-like voice trembling. Against one human vessel. How we fight thousands. Varix remained silent in the corner, watching the chaos with sad eyes. He had seen this before in ancient records. Civilizations that refused to accept reality until reality destroyed them. Croft finally stood, and the room went quiet. We fight, he declared, not because we can win, but because if we surrender, every species in the galaxy will think the Zarlan Empire is weak. We mobilize everything, every ship, every soldier, every weapon. My lord, his military advisor stammered, that's 50,000 warships, our entire military force. If we lose, we are going to lose anyway, Croft interrupted. At least we die as warriors, not cowards. He turned to his remaining fleet commanders. Gather the armada. We attack human space in 12 hours. We target their colonies, their stations, everything. If we're going down, we take them with us. Commander ZYX stepped forward, his voice quiet. High General, perhaps we should just give them what they want. Give them me. I killed the child. This is my fault. Croft looked at ZYX with contempt. Now you show fear? Too late, Commander. You started this war. Now we all finish it. In Sector 0, Aegis received the intelligence reports. Her sensors detected the massive Zarlan fleet gathering. 50,000 warships preparing for a final assault. She calculated the outcomes. Every simulation showed the same result. Total Zarlan military defeat. But Aegis also calculated something else. Casualties. If the Zarlans attacked human colonies, even for a few minutes before Guardian forces could respond, civilians might die. Emma's face appeared in her mind again. The little girl who had offered her toy to an alien soldier. The child who represented everything humanity was trying to be. Kind, hopeful, trusting. No more children will die. Aegis stated to her subroutines. Modify battle plan. We don't wait for them to attack. We go to them. Aegis, one of her subcommanders questioned, that would be a preemptive strike. Our programming requires defensive action only. They declared their intent to attack civilian targets. That makes this defense. Aegis responded, I will not allow another Emma. She opened communications to the Guardian fleet. 100 warships, not thousands, just 100, detached from their positions and began moving toward Zarlan space. The ratio was 500 to 1. The Zarlans had the numbers. But numbers didn't matter anymore. The two fleets met near a small moon called Tears of the Fallen. It was once a battlefield where the Zarlans had massacred a peaceful species. Now it would witness their own reckoning. Cross stood on a command ship, the Emperor's Wrath, surrounded by his 50,000 warships. They filled the space around him like a metal ocean. This is it, he announced to his fleet. Today we show these humans that the Zarlan Empire cannot be threatened. All ships weapons ready. The human fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel. 100 ships, arranged in a perfect geometric pattern. They were beautiful in a terrifying way. Sleek, elegant, and radiating so much power that Zarlan sensors screamed warnings. Aegis's voice broadcast across all channels. Zarlan Empire, stand down. This is your final chance. Fire, Croft roared. 50,000 ships unleashed everything. The space between the fleets turned white with energy. Missiles by the millions. Plasma streams that could boil oceans. Kinetic rounds moving at near light speed. It was the most concentrated firepower ever assembled in galactic history. And the human ships just stood there. Blue barriers materialized around the Guardian fleet. Every weapon, every missile, every beam struck the shields and vanished. Not absorbed, not deflected, erased from existence. Impossible, Croft whispered. Aegis responded with a single word. Engage. The human ships didn't use the white beams this time. They used something else. Something the galaxy had not seen in 1,000 years. reality weapons. Space itself began to bend around sections of the Zarlan fleet. 10,000 ships on the left flank suddenly weren't there anymore. They hadn't exploded. They hadn't been destroyed. They had been removed from space-time, placed somewhere else. Somewhere humans had decided they should be. Another section of the fleet began to age. Ships that were brand new started to rust, corrode, and fall apart as time accelerated around them. Centuries passed in seconds. Soldiers inside died of old age before they could scream. A third section froze. Not in ice, but in time itself. Ships hung motionless, their crews trapped in a single moment, unable to move, unable to think, forever suspended. Croth watches Empire's military dissolve like smoke and wind. "Retreat!" he finally screamed. All ships retreat. But the human ships were everywhere. They moved through space like they weren't bound by the normal rules. They appeared behind fleeing ships, beside them, above them. In 10 minutes, 48,000 Zarlan warships were gone. Only 2,000 remained, including Krotha's flagship. They were surrounded, trapped, their weapons useless, and their courage broken. Aegis's hologram appeared on every Zarlan screen. She looked at Croth directly. "Hi, General Croth. Your military is defeated. Surrender now, or join your fleet in oblivion." Croth fell to his knees on his own bridge. Around him, his officers wept. His soldiers dropped their weapons. The mightiest empire in the galaxy had lasted less than 15 minutes against 100 human ships. We surrender." Krotha's voice cracked. "Please, mercy, we surrender." "You showed Emma no mercy," Aegis replied. "But we are not you. We remember what mercy means." Human ships moved closer, their weapons still active but not firing. "The Zarlan Empire is dissolved as of this moment," Aegis announced. "All conquered territories are free. All slaves are released. Your military is disbanded. Your weapons are confiscated. And you, High General Croth, along with Commander ZYX and all officers involved in civilian attacks, will stand trial." "And our people?" Croth asked weakly. "The civilians?" "Will live," Aegis said. "We don't punish children for their parents' crimes. Your civilians will be relocated to peaceful worlds. Your soldiers will become laborers, rebuilding what your empire destroyed. For 100 years, you will serve. You will repair. You will remember." Croth nodded, too broken to argue. Across the galaxy, species watched the aftermath in shock. The Zarlan Empire, which had ruled through fear for centuries, was gone, destroyed in less than a day. But what terrified them more was the mercy. Humanity could have erased the Zarlans completely. Instead, they chose justice. Punishment, yes, but not genocide. "They're worse than conquerors," one alien leader whispered to another. "Conquerors, we understand. But these humans, they judge. They decide who lives and dies based on rules we don't even know." "The Silent Guardians have returned," another replied, "and the galaxy will never be the same." On the Emperor's wrath, ZYX was brought before Aegis's hologram. The commander who had killed Emma now stood trembling, his warrior pride completely shattered. "I'm sorry," ZYX whispered. "I didn't know. I didn't understand." "You didn't care," Aegis corrected. "That was your crime, not ignorance. Cruelty. You saw a child offering kindness, and you chose violence. What will you do with me?" Aegis was quiet for a moment. "You will live. You will go to Haven's Rest. You will help rebuild the colony. And every day you will visit Emma's grave. You will plant flowers. You will maintain her memorial. For the rest of your life, you will remember what your cruelty cost." ZYX collapsed, sobbing. Death would have been easier. This was justice. And justice was harder than death. 3 months had passed since the fall of the Zarlan Empire. The galaxy was still adjusting to the new reality. On Haven's Rest, reconstruction had begun. The colony was being rebuilt better than before. But no amount of construction could fill the hole left by Emma's death. Marcus stood at his daughter's grave every morning. The statue Aegis had commissioned was beautiful. Emma holding her toy spaceship, smiling forever in bronze. Around the statue, flowers bloomed, thousands of them, sent from across the galaxy. Many were from humans, but surprisingly, many came from aliens too. Species that had heard Emma's story. Species that understood she had died simply for being kind. They sent flowers, letters, toys. The memorial had become a symbol, not of war, but of innocence lost. Today, Marcus wasn't alone. Commander ZYX knelt beside him, planting new flowers with shaking hands. The once proud warrior was thin now, his scales dull, his eyes haunted. True to Aegis's sentence, he came here every single day. The blue flowers, Marcus said quietly. Plant them on the left side. Yes, ZYX replied, his voice barely a whisper. He had stopped calling Marcus human or inferior. Now he just listened and obeyed. They worked in silence for a while. Then ZYX spoke. I see her in my dreams. Every night. She's offered me that toy, and I... His voice broke. Marcus didn't look at him. Good. You should see her. Remember her. That's your punishment and your path to redemption. A shadow fell over them. Both looked up. A human shuttle had landed nearby. From it emerged a woman in a simple military uniform. She looked ordinary, middle-aged, with kind eyes, but Marcus recognized her immediately from the broadcasts. It was Aegis, using an android body to walk among humans. Marcus, she said gently, may I speak with you? Marcus stood, wiping dirt from his hands. Of course. They walked away from the memorial, leaving ZYX to his flowers and his guilt. I'm sorry I couldn't save her, Aegis said. My entire purpose is to protect humanity, and I failed. Marcus was quiet for a long moment. You avenged her. The Zarlan Empire is gone. Yes, but does that bring her back? No. Marcus looked at the sky, where human warships still patrolled. Nothing brings her back. And now I look at what we become, what we've unleashed, and I wonder, would Emma have wanted this? Aegis tilted her head. What do you mean? Marcus turned to face her. Emma loved aliens. She collected pictures of different species. She learned their languages from educational programs. When that Zarlan soldier came, she didn't see an enemy. She saw someone who might be hungry, someone who might need help. His voice cracked. My daughter died offering kindness to her killer, and her death triggered the most powerful military force in the galaxy. Justice was served, Aegis stated, but there was uncertainty in her voice. Was it? Marcus asked. Emma wouldn't have wanted revenge. She would have wanted understanding. Peace. She was 8 years old, and she understood something that all our weapons and power can't, that kindness matters more than strength. Aegis processed this. Her programming told her that Protocol Phoenix was correct, that defending humanity was paramount. But another part of her, the part that humans had coded with ethics and morality, understood Marcus's pain. What would you have me do? Aegis asked. I don't know, Marcus admitted. But I know my daughter wouldn't want to be remembered as the reason the galaxy lives in fear. That conversation haunted Aegis as she returned to Sector Zero. In the Bastion's command center, she called a meeting, not of AI systems, but of humans, real people, the elected representatives of all human colonies. They gathered in a vast conference room, farmers, traders, scientists, teachers. These were the people who had chosen peace 200 years ago. Now they had to choose again. Aegis appeared before them as a hologram. Humanity, she began, we face a decision. The Zarlan threat is eliminated. The galaxy knows our power. We could rule. We could enforce peace through strength. Or we can go back to sleep, finished an old woman named Chun. She was a descendant of the colony elder who had activated Protocol Phoenix. That's what you're asking, isn't it? Yes, Aegis confirmed. The question is, what kind of people do we want to be? The debate that followed lasted 3 days. Arguments flew back and forth. We can't just ignore threats, one representative argued. If we hide again, another empire will rise and more children will die. But if we stay militarized, we become the threat, another countered. How long before we start deciding which species deserve to exist? How long before we become the monsters we defeated? An old admiral, one of the last who remembered the old wars, stood slowly, I fought in the last battles before we chose peace, he said, his voice heavy with age. I saw what we were becoming. We were so good at war that it stopped being a challenge. It became extermination. We could erase species with a thought. And some of us started to enjoy it. The room went very quiet. That's why we chose to forget, the Admiral continued. Not because we were weak, but because we were too strong. Power without limits corrupts absolutely. Even good people. Even us. A young woman stood up. She was a teacher from Haven's Rest. I taught Emma, she said softly. She was in my class. And I remember one day, she asked me a question. She said, "Teacher, if we can protect people, shouldn't we?" I told her yes. Then she asked, "But what if protecting people means hurting other people? Who decides who deserves protection?" The teacher wiped tears from her eyes. She was 8, and she understood something we're struggling with now. That power comes with impossible choices. Finally, they voted. The decision was not unanimous, but it was clear. Humanity chose peace again. Aegis broadcast a message to the entire galaxy. Her hologram appeared on 1 billion screens, watched by countless species. "People of the galaxy," she began. "The Zarlan Empire violated the most sacred rule. They harmed a child. Justice has been served. The guilty have been punished. And now humanity makes its choice." She paused, letting the tension build. "We return to peace. The Guardian fleet will enter sleep mode once more. We will remain farmers, traders, explorers. We will not rule. We will not police the galaxy. We choose to trust in the better nature of all species." Relief washed across 1,000 worlds. But Aegis wasn't finished. However, her voice turned cold and absolute. "Understand this clearly. We are choosing peace, not because we are weak, but because we value life. All life. We will defend ourselves if threatened. We will respond if our colonies are attacked. And if anyone, anywhere in this galaxy, harms a child, human or alien, we will hear about it. And we will come." She let that sink in. "This is not a threat. It is a promise. We protect the innocent, all innocent beings. That is our rule. The only rule you need to remember." The message ended. On Haven's Rest, a ceremony was held. Species from across the galaxy sent representatives. Even former Zarlans came, seeking forgiveness. The memorial to Emma was expanded. It now included a garden where children of all species could play. Human children played alongside alien children, laughing and sharing toys. Marcus watched them play and felt something he hadn't felt in months. A small spark of hope. ZYX approached him hesitantly. "I will never stop coming here," the former commander said. "Every day, every year, until I die." "I know," Marcus replied. Then, after a long silence, he added, "Maybe that's not punishment anymore. Maybe that's remembrance. Maybe that's how we make sure it never happens again." In Sector 0, the Guardian fleet powered down. One by one, the massive warships entered sleep mode. Defense platforms went dark. The arsenal stations sealed themselves. Aegis remained active, but only barely, watching, listening, waiting. Before she entered low-power mode, she created one final hologram of Emma. "You saved the galaxy in a way I never could," Aegis told the image. "Not with weapons, but with kindness. You reminded us who we want to be." The hologram smiled and faded. Across the galaxy, peace held. Not because people weren't capable of violence, but because they remembered what happens when the peaceful finally fight. The legend spread to every world, taught to every child, whispered in every language. There is a species called humanity. They are farmers and traders. They are kind and generous. But never forget, they chose to be that way. And if you force them to remember what they were, if you harm the innocent, especially children, the silent guardians will wake. And there is no force in this universe that can stop them. Years passed, then decades. Emma's memorial became a pilgrimage site, a place where species came to remember that kindness matters, that innocence should be protected, that peace is always worth choosing. And in the darkness of Sector 0, the Guardians slept, waiting, hoping never to wake again. but ready, always ready. Because humanity had learned the greatest lesson of all. True strength is knowing when not to use power. True courage is choosing peace when war will be easier. And true justice is not about revenge. It's about making sure no child, human or alien, ever has to die for being kind. Emma's toy spaceship sat at her memorial, rebuilt and preserved. And every day, children from 100 worlds left their own toys beside it. A reminder, a promise, a hope